Good morning, children. Children, in this class we will perform an activity in order to measure the speed of various objects. So the things required here are, you see, a flat wooden board, a flat ordinary wooden board. Then the second thing, various objects like pencil, toy car, tennis ball, things which can be rolled easily. Such type of things you have to take. The third thing what you have to take is the stopwatch, with the help of which you can calculate the time. Okay. Then the fourth thing which is needed is meter scale, with the help of which you can easily measure the distance. So the arrangement is done in this way. See here in your book it is given here. See how the wooden board is kept at an inclined position. You see here the wooden board is placed here with the help of support with an inclined plane. Then it is inclined at different angles with this surface. And now you see here that the various objects are placed here. Whatever object you are taking, that is to be placed here, and you have to roll it from here till here. That is from top to bottom. You have to roll it, and at the same time you have to make the stopwatch on, so that it can measure the time taken by the object from moving here till here. Okay? And the distance from here till here is measured with the help of meter scale. Okay? So two things you are getting easily, that is the distance and the time. Time taken by the object to roll from here till here, and the distance with the help of the meter scale. Now, if you are getting these two datas, that is the time as well as the distance, then you can easily calculate the speed. So, after doing this activity, you will be easily able to calculate the average speed of each object which moved down the inclined plane. Now, you can repeat the same activity by changing the inclination of the plane, isn't it? So, if the angle of inclination is changed, then what is the reading? And then you can compare the reading. What is the speed in case of this inclination? That is, when the angle of inclination is this, what is the speed of the object? If the angle of inclination is changed, then what is the speed of the object? So simply you can calculate the average speed of each object with the help of this activity. Now children, you might have seen a meter fitted on a top of a scooter or a motorcycle. Similarly, meters can be seen on the dashboards of cars, buses and other vehicles also. So, what is the meter indicating? What is the meter indicating? The meter has kilometer per hour written at one corner. You might have seen that the meter has kilometer per hour written at one corner. So this is called the speedometer. It is known as the speedometer, as it measures the speed in which unit? Kilometer per hour. So it records the speed directly in kilometer per hour. There is also another meter. Have you seen? There is also another meter that measures the distance moved by the vehicle. It measures the distance which is covered by the vehicle. This meter is known as odometer. So, this meter is known as odometer. So, 2 meters are seen. 1 meter is the odometer and the second one is speedometer. So, speedometer, it is given in kilometer per hour, and the distance which is covered by the vehicle is given in the odometer. So it measures the distance, and speedometer measures the kilometer per hour, that is the speed. Now, you might have seen that newspapers, magazine, etc. present information in various forms of graphs to make it interesting. Okay, now we all know that a given idea or concept becomes easier to understand if we can give it a pictorial form. So, pictorial form gives the clear concept. It gives an idea to understand it more easily. The idea or concept then becomes appear to alive as it was. So, graph, it is often used in science, maths and other fields to study. And it helps us in having such a pictorial and alive representation. They enable us to communicate information in an interesting and visual manner. So, depending on the information to be conveyed and its specific use, we often draw many types of graph. For example, we draw bar graph, then pie graph. You might have studied in mathematics these all the different types of graphs. Straight line also, which is known as straight line graph, which is also known as linear graph. So, we can express the idea with the help of graphs. Now, and the linear graph is the most commonly used graph. It is mainly used in science. The linear, which is also known as straight line graph, it is commonly used in science. Now, we will learn how to describe motion, that is the time, distance, time graph with the help of graph, using graph to describe motion. To describe motion, that is distance time graph. How to draw the distance time graph. We will learn how to express the distance and time with the help of a graph. That is, the motion of an object is represented with the help of a graph. Suppose that the motion of the car, it is given here in the table. That is, see here, in the table it is given that time, when the time is 0, the distance is also 0. 1 hour, when the time is 1 hour, then the distance covered by the car is 5 kilometers. In 2 hours, the distance covered is 10 kilometers. In 3 hours, the distance covered is 15 kilometers. Then in 4 hours, it is 20 kilometers. In 5 hours, it is 25 kilometers, and so on. That means here, the motion of the car given is uniform, because at equal distance, equal interval of time, it is traveling equal distance. That is, in 1 hour 5 kilometers, next 1 hour again 5 kilometers, and so on. So here we have to represent the same in the form of graph. So how to draw the graph? We will learn here that how to draw the graph. First of all, you have to draw two perpendicular lines to represent the two axes and mark them as OX and OY. OX and OY. What you have to do? You have to draw two perpendicular lines. Okay. Then mark it as OX and OY. Then decide the quantity to be shown along the x-axis and that to be shown along the y-axis. In this case, we show the time along the x-axis. So here time is shown along the x-axis, whereas the distance is shown along y-axis. So clear? Y-axis is representing the distance of a car, whereas the x-axis is representing the time. Okay. Now we have to choose a scale to represent the distance and another to represent the time on the graph. Okay. So what would be the scale? Here we have chosen time in hours. Okay. Whereas distance in kilometer. These are the units on which we have to express the data. Now, suppose that here we have to mark the values for the time and distance on the respective axis according to the scale you have to choose. For example, for the motion of the car, okay, we have to express here the motion of the car along the x-axis and where O is the origin. So, here you mark it as 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour and 5 hour. And in distance, here you mark it as 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 15 kilometer, 20 kilometer, 25 kilometer. Clear? Now it is clear that here 1 centimeter is representing 1 hour, whereas here 1 centimeter is representing 5 kilometer. Clear to you now? Now you have to mark the points on the graph paper to represent each set of values for distance and time. Okay. Here you see that at time 0 hours, the distance moved is also 0. Here that when the time is 0, then the distance covered is also 0. So what will be here? The point corresponding to this set of values on the graph will therefore be the origin itself. Isn't it? So now after 1 hour, the car has moved a distance 5 kilometer. Isn't it? After 1 hour, the car has moved 5 kilometer. So to mark this set of values, look for the point that represents 1 hour on the x-axis. Now draw a line parallel to the y-axis. That is, this type of line you have to draw here. And in the same way, parallel to the x-axis. Isn't it? Now you see here, the point where these two lines intersect represents this set of values on the graph. Similarly, you have to mark on the graph paper the points corresponding to different set of values. Now from here you can draw again. At time 2 hours, see here the distance covered is 10 kilometers. So you have to draw the line parallel to y-axis. In the same way, line which is parallel to x-axis. Again in the next 1 hour, that is in 3 hours the car is traveling 15 kilometer. So again draw the line which is parallel to y-axis and join the line which is covered by in 3 hours, that is 15 kilometers. Again we have to draw the line which is parallel to x-axis. Then again in the same way, in next 1 hour, that is in 4 hours, the car is traveling 20 kilometers. So you join this again by a line which is parallel to the x-axis. Then what you have to do? You have to write down here that in 1 hour 5 kilometers. This point is representing 2 hours in 2 hours 10 kilometers, in 3 hours 15 kilometers, in 4 hours it is 20 kilometers. So all the points here on the graph is corresponding to the position of the car at various times. So now you have to join all the points on the graph. See here, in this way you have to join all the points. Clear? So you have to join all the points on the graph, and now you will find that it is a straight line. This is the distance time graph for the motion of the car. Now if the distance time graph is a straight line, it indicates that the object is moving with a constant speed. But if the speed of the objects keeps changing, the graph will not be a straight line. It may be of any other shape, isn't it? So this is indicating that the car is moving in uniform motion. That is, at equal interval of time, it is covering equal distance. So the speed is constant here, which is represented by a straight line. So it is also known as what? It is known as straight line graph. It is known as straight line graph. Now children, I think that the chapter is almost completed. The explanation part is over, and now in our next class we will do the exercises. Okay, so we will do the exercises in the next class as the explanation part is over. So thank you children. That's all for today. You note down your homework, children. Your homework is to write down all the keywords which is given in page number 93 and 94. So what is your homework? Write the keywords of the same chapter. Write the keywords. Okay children, thank you.